Hi everyone. So in today's session we'll be discussing CSEET, meaning Company Secretary Executive Entrance Tests Current Affair Papers Bulletin for the month of July 2020. You might have seen us discussing current affairs in detail in the class, and we also discussed bulletin for the month of June previously. I hope you've stayed updated till then. So in today's class we'll be starting with the July month's bulletin, and we would have to further, if you're writing your examination in the month of November, you have to further update yourself with the bulletin for the month of August and September as well as October, which will be updating as and when the bulletin is out. Yeah, so let's get started. So in entire discussion for today, it will be majorly in relation to Mitro, Mere Pyare Deshwasiyo. So basically, it will revolve around the cabinet meeting that happened in the month of June. So we know the nation is undergoing situation or facing a circumstance which was not planned for, or none of us would have ever dreamt of. Coronavirus or the pandemic is something that none of us planned for. None of us actually seen something of that sort happening. Okay, so what has happened is a lot of things are changing. So ever since the month of March, you might have seen Narendra Modi coming out every 15 days or every week asking us to bang the vessels or light a diya or stay distant, stay at home. Lot of things, lot of things. So a lot of things are happening. So Prime Minister is addressing the country at very frequent intervals. One such great meeting happened in the month of June. Great because of the amount of news that came out with respect to that. I am not staying politically biased here, trying to tell one person is right or the other person is wrong, what government is doing right. No, we're not. We're not here to discuss that. So I told you the word great, especially because in this meeting or in this press meet, when Narendra Modi ji, Prime Minister of our country, came out with an announcement, lot of announcements were made, and lot of those announcements have been included in our current affairs bulletin, which is applicable, and the questions on this can come for our examination in the month of November. So that is the reason why it is great for us, and we would have to be focusing this in detail. So come on, let's get started and then let's deal with this part. So the first point that happened is whenever the coronavirus pandemic hit us mid-March, there was lockdown that was announced nationwide. There was lockdown across various countries in the world. But what we are primarily focusing right now is the national affairs. And what happened is the lockdown happened entire nation. So when lockdown happened in the entire nation, people who are working in IT, chartered accountants, company secretaries, and all other big people, they switched to work from home model. IT professionals, everyone work from home. But imagine the status of poor man who needs to go out and then work in the hot sun. Yeah, a laborer who is involved in the construction of the building, an auto rickshaw driver, or maybe a cab driver, or a bus conductor, or anyone who has to go out and then work there to earn money. So the nation wise, when there is a lockdown, he has to stay at home, and just because he's staying at home, no one would give him salary, isn't it? So he would not get enough money to feed himself and his family. So to ensure that none of the people of our country stay hungry, national government, so our government came out with this yojana called as Prime Minister Garib Kalyan, what to say, Anna Yojana. Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, PMGKAY. So as usual, the way the announcements are made, Narendra Modi ji came that day with his what to say, the kandwa around his mouth, and then he opened it, and then the entire beard was shown off, and then Prime Minister ji told us, no, Mitro, mere pyare deshwasiyo, I love you all. I don't want you people to stay hungry at your house because there is nationwide lockdown. Yeah, you cannot go out and then earn your bread. So I am announcing that a new scheme called as Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, wherein I'll give 5 kgs rice for South Indians because we basically live on rice, 5 kgs wheat for North Indians who basically prepare roti or chapati. Yeah, so it's your choice, roti, chapati, or rice. If you're eating roti, chapati, wheat. If you're eating chitrana, puliyogre, bisode bath and all, you'll be given rice, 5 kgs. Along with that, 3 kgs of channa or dal. Usually in South India, we basically use dal, and in the North India, they might use chana. So they're saying, okay, depending upon the geographical structure, depending upon the people's food habits, we'll give channa or dal. This much free. You get that? You just need to hit the ration shop and then show your Aadhaar card proof and then collect this free groceries. I don't know how many of you had collected, but this facility was available to poor people. This facility was announced in the month of March. Now you might be wondering, sir, you're discussing the July month's bulletin. Why the hell are you talking about something that was announced in the month of March? In the month of March, when this scheme was announced, it was announced for 3 months. How many months? 3 months. March, April, May. So in the May it ends, isn't it? So mid of March. I think it was April. April, May, June was there. April, May, June was the 3 months for which this Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana was announced. So in the month of June, that scheme is getting over. But what is happening is the lockdown is going to continue after the month of June also. July, August also is expected to be lockdown because the number of cases of coronavirus is not coming down at all. The graph is still going up. Every one of you are checking on it on a daily basis as if you're checking some IPL score. You guys get that. So when that's happening and the nation is continuing the lockdown even after the month of June, people still can't come out and then earn the money. So they told that this scheme will be extended for 5 more months, meaning July, August, September, October, November. Till the month of November, this scheme will be continued, meaning people will still continue to get 5 kgs of free rice or wheat, 3 kgs of dal or channa or whatever the grams that is basically used in that geographical structure. Yeah, that was a scheme. And then this announcement was made, and it was told that 80 crore people are the beneficiaries of this. How many crore people? 80 crore people. Yeah. Okay. Now, with regard to examination, what is the things that we should remember? What can the MCQs be asked on? Point 1. It is Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, PMGKAY. The name is to be remembered. Initially, it was announced for 3 months, April, May, June. Now extended for 5 more months after the June month, basically coming till November. And how many people are the beneficiaries of the scheme? 80 crores. And the amount of the budget is 1.7 lakh crores. Yeah, what is the amount that is incurred for this project? 1.7 lakh crores package it is. And yeah, this is to decrease the impact of coronavirus on the poor people. And that's it. This is the news that we have here. 1.7 lakh crore, 31,000 crore basically. Yeah, in the last 3 months, what have they done? How much have they incurred in the last three? How much are they going to incur in the next 5? As I told you previously, National Food Security Act provides how much? 5 kgs of food grains per person monthly per person. If there are 4 people at home, you get 20 kgs. Yeah, and monthly, and subsidized rate of 2 to 3 kgs for countries poor. Yeah, it's almost through a price. Under the Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, and the ration quota was enhanced to 5 kgs of free for the next 3 months. They told like 5 kgs will be given free. In the first 3 months, they give it for 2 to 3 rupees per kg. Very much negligible. And lockdown announced, okay, this is because of the lockdown, and then migrant people, construction workers, factories and shops, everyone's getting affected. So this is the first news that we have. And honest taxpayers money has been used for the welfare of the scheme. He also hailed the farmers and honest taxpayers for their contribution in making the scheme useful, welfare scheme successful. So it's like all of us who are paying tax, no, we're basically feeding the poor of the country. So we should feel little happy about it, is what Prime Minister Ji is telling us, is congratulating us, saying that we are responsible for making this happen. And he also congratulated the farmers for making this event happen. Yeah. So let's go to the next news. So this was basically because of this was after the cabinet meeting that was held. Cabinet meeting means now whenever a minister, see on the face we only know Prime Minister, isn't it? Narendra Modi. Whereas there is a government, meaning there is Home Minister, there is Defense Minister, there is Agriculture Minister, there is Human Resource Minister, there is Power Minister, there are a lot of ministers. All these ministers together, they do a meeting. This meeting is called as cabinet meeting. What is the name of the meeting called as cabinet meeting? In the cabinet meeting, they come out with these projects. They think, okay, fine, this is the amount of contribution. Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, what do you have to say about this? They'll tell something. Then Human Resource Minister, what do you think is the difficulty in implementing this? Then Home Affairs Minister, like Home Minister Amit Shahji, yeah, okay, please tell us, will it affect the security of the country when you're trying to distribute this? Yeah. Similarly, the suggestion from every cabinet minister will be taken depending upon their area in of governance, and ultimately the press meet will be called for, and then announcement would be made. Yeah. Okay. Next, what else is the announcement that came out in that cabinet meeting? Okay. Another important what to say pointer that came out from this cabinet meeting is infusion of funds into public sector general insurance companies. Now, insurance. What exactly is the meaning of insurance? Insurance is the safeguard against the risk. Now, if I'm crossing the road, my objective is to reach the other side of the road safely. But what if in the midway a truck hits me? I might not cross the road. If I don't cross the road, I might not reach my home. And there are a lot of people who are waiting for me at home. My mom, my dad, my wife, my children, my sister, my brother, my what to say, my grandchildren. All of them are waiting. All of them are dependent on me. If I don't earn food, they would all be hungry. And if I die, they also should die because of hunger. So what is it? I would have to get an insurance done. So what insurance do we get usually? We get a life insurance policy, usually, isn't it? So if I die, the money goes to them so that they don't have to die and they still survive. Instead of life insurance, I can get an accident insurance done, which covers exactly the accident case. Or You can get, okay, now if I'm a cricket player, Sachin Tendulkar had got his tennis elbow insured, because if his tennis elbow goes bad, he cannot play cricket anymore. If he doesn't play cricket, his endorsements would stop, his revenue would stop, and his family also would not be doing great. You get that? So he got his tennis elbow insured. So you can get different things insured. So insurance may two categories: life insurance, general insurance. Life insurance is for people's life. General insurance covers everything else. Fire insurance or your marine insurance. Yeah, all these insurances are covered in general insurance. So these general insurance companies, financial position is not really great. The financial position of general insurance companies is not really great. If you don't take an action at this point of time, entire insurance sector of the country will take a dip, and further it will lead to bad impact on the stock market, bad impact on the GDP of the country. You get that? So the government cannot be quiet and let an industry sink in. So because the insurance sector is shrinking, or the insurance sector's financial position is not really great, the government has picked three public general insurance companies, in which the government is infusing funds, 12,450 crores. I repeat, 12,450 crores is infused by the government into these insurance companies. How? By way of investment. It's not like given as a loan, it's like investments. Now, as you people are company secretary students, you would have had a fair idea about companies. Now, these are companies, these are not statutory organizations, these are companies. Now, these companies will have share capital. Share capital, may you heard types: statutory capital, or what do you say, authorized capital, then issued, paid up, and everything. So that authorized capital is not letting the government put in this 12,450 crores. So what the government is doing is they're increasing this authorized capital first, and later putting in money into these insurance companies. So what are these insurance companies? General insurance companies in which the government is investing. These are public sector, okay? These are not Relagare, Tata Alliance, Bajaj Alliance, or Tata. No, no, no. These are not private owned things. These are public sector general insurance companies. I repeat, these are public sector general insurance companies. Basically three. One is National Insurance, second one is United Insurance, third one is Oriental. National, Oriental, and United. These three insurance companies have been picked in the first sector. 12,450 crores is the amount which the government is infusing into them by increasing their authorized capital. Is the government doing it in one shot? No, no, no. We're not going to do it that way. Certain amount of money is invested now, and certain money will be invested little later in the next sector. But right now they've promised saying that 12,450 crores will be infused into public sector general insurance companies. Come on, let's quickly see the news. It goes like Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister has approved the capital infusion of how much? Overall value of 12,450 crores. How much? 12,450 crores. Okay, including 2,500 crores infused in 1920. Okay, three public sector general insurance companies. What are the three? Number one, Oriental Insurance Company. What is number one? Oriental Insurance Company. Number two, National Insurance Company. Number three, United India Insurance Company. So three. What are they? Number one, Oriental. Number two, National. Number three, United. Note the names. This can be your examination question. So what and all can come in the exam? How much money? 12,450 crores. Infusing where? Three public sector general insurance companies. What are the names? Oriental, National, and United. Okay. While but of which 3,475 crores will be released immediately. So out of 12,450, immediately they're going to announce how much? 3,475. 2,500 already announced. 6,475 infused later. You guys get that? So that is it. And here they've used the shortcut. What is it? NICL, that is National Insurance. UICL, United India. OICL, Oriental Insurance. And further, they're going to talk about the merger of this, what is the insurance sector also. So regarding that also some conversation had come up. So this is the news that we have with regard to insurance companies. Done. So I told you a great one, no? Because there is a lot of news coming up from this cabinet meeting. Yeah. So when the lockdown happened, factories got shut, garments got shut, all the small industries got shut, MSME sector was majorly hit because large cap companies switched to work from home majorly, or their production can take downside. But I would say medium and small scale enterprises would have take a great hit. And all these people who work there are not the people who are super rich. They're all like middle class people, lower middle class people, and poor people. Lot of people who are working in the industries set up in Bangalore were actually not Bangaloreans. They were peoples who had come from far Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and quite a lot of other people. And even this happened in Delhi also. Lot of people who work in Delhi are not actually from Delhi. There are all these people who come from Punjab, Chandigarh, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, all these cities which are close by. You get that? In fact, I have seen a lot of my friends only who was working in a different state or different city. They belong to a different city. They switched. They To them it didn't really matter much because they're all doing work from home. They work just that they just need to have a proper Wi-Fi connection at home and then desk and a chair to sit and work at. But that will not happen with all these migrant workers. Now, when they go back to their places, they can't come back again. And when they go there, they might not have sufficient house, sufficient place or infrastructure to stay. So, under the Prime Minister Awas Yojana, I repeat, what is it? Awas Yojana. Awas Yojana is a yojana to basically build a place for people to stay. Under this, the government has initiated to construct affordable housing facility at minimal rent. Meaning, see, I assume that I'm from Haryana. I've come all the way to Mumbai to work, and I was working in Mumbai because of this coronavirus pandemic and then lockdown. And Sonu Sood also helped me, and I went back to Haryana. Now, when I went back to Haryana, at Haryana, I might not have a house to live, or I might not have a big enough house to live. Now, all these people, when they go back to Haryana, there's no place to live. So, what is the government doing? Government is constructing houses at an affordable rent. They're going to build a big complex like an apartment, affordable housing, and give it away at what to say a very minimal rent to all these people. So this is basically keeping whom in mind? The migrant workers in mind. Yeah. Okay. This is the news from the center. Let's see this. So the center on Wednesday approved affordable rental housing complexes scheme aimed for providing rental accommodation for to migrant workers in urban areas. Okay. The scheme is sub scheme of Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana. So this scheme is part of which scheme? Pradhana Mantri Awas Yojana is the main scheme. Under this, they've covered this. What they say that coronavirus pandemic hit migrant workers are covered in this scheme. So that's with respect to this. How much is the money that they've approved? 600 crore. And the number of people who will be benefited with this is 3 lakh beneficiaries. You guys get that? 600 crore is the amount that is used, amount that is released for this project, and it will basically change the lives of 3 lakh beneficiaries. Okay, that's the news from the center. Let us go to the next one. Yeah, next one is regarding EPF. Now, what exactly is EPF? Now, right now, I assume that I'm an employee. I'm working under someone. I go there and I work this month, I get this month's salary. I work next month, I get next month's salary. Now I'm pretty young. I'm in 20s or 30s. You keep guessing. I'm not going to tell you how old am I. Yeah, a lot of us, when we start in the early 20s, we work throughout our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. But after 60s, we would not be able to work anymore. A lot of places they force us to take retirement. Few places you've been given an option to take voluntary retirement. Usually, the average in our country is that people retire by the age of 60. When you retire by the age of 60, you're not going to die at the age of 60, isn't it? You're going to survive after that. When you're working, you used to get salary which you used to spend. But after 60, what if you don't get any money? Like you don't get any money, isn't it? Regular inflow is not there. How will you survive? You need to be smart. You need to start saving from the day one. But government thinks that the citizens, or not all the citizens, are smart enough to save. So, in fact, if you don't save, it's a burden on the government only. Government would have to take care of it then, isn't it? So, government had actually come out with a scheme called as Provident Fund. So, Provident Fund is a scheme where I am a worker and there's my boss. When he's paying me 10,000 rupees salary, some part of my salary will be cut. He'll cut some 500 rupees from my salary. You'll basically give me 9,500. 10,000 is my salary. How much will he give? 9,500. 500 is cut. And employer himself puts 500. Totally 1,000 rupees will be deposited in PF. Yeah, in PF, National Provident Fund. Yeah, he'll put it there. And that will happen continuously for my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60 years. Maybe 30, 40 years of my employment life, this keeps happening. One fine day when I retire, that entire Provident Fund money comes to me with interest. When this entire Provident Fund money comes to me with interest, that will be my retirement surplus. I can use it and then plan my retirement. You guys get that? With this intention, government had introduced this scheme long ago. Employee insurance scheme, and then what they say ESI scheme, and then what they say this employee provident fund scheme. All these schemes were introduced. Now, with regard to this, I'll tell you the news now because you understand. I wanted you to understand the concept of EPF at first place. Now, my salary is deducted to 500 rupees, and employer will pay 500 rupees to the government. Now, what is happening is during this pandemic, April, May, June, July, and all, I don't have work. So the employer is not paying me salary. Why? Because employer is not able to sell goods, his sales has stopped, my salary has stopped, so my EPF is also stopped. Am I right? So the government has told, don't worry, don't worry. If you are a small organization, if you are a small big organizations, I'm not talking about. They're only talking about the small organization, big, large cap. I'm working in Infosys. Infosys is rich enough. Infosys will pay EPF, employer's contribution. I am an employee, my contribution also will be paid. Because if you are working in a company such big, no, you can do work from home. Basically, if you're into IT or any such work which can be done remotely. We're exclusively talking about small companies. We're exclusively talking about small companies. What happens is government is saying, employer, you don't pay any money. Employee, you don't pay any money. On your behalf, though you don't contribute any money, I will put money from my pocket into EPF. You guys get that? Every month I used to contribute 500, my boss 500 to PF, no, which I'll get on retirement. No, I will not pay, my boss won't pay. Government only will put 100 rupees into that. And I can take that money when I retire or when I change the job. So that is a scheme here. Yeah. So read this. Cabinet approves extension of EPF contribution by government till August. So till when? August. This was initially announced for 3 months. What to say? April, May, June. Now they are extending it till August for like July and August, 2 more months. Yeah. So Prakash Javadekar, Minister for what do you say? Yeah, Union Minister for Industries is here. Okay. Approved the extension of support being given to establishment with up to 100 workers. I told you small organizations, there is the condition. Now, if I have an organization which has 100 employees or less than 100 employees, then I am covered under the scheme. Government will pay. If I have more than 100 employees, I am not covered under the scheme and government will not pay on my behalf. Will the government pay on my behalf? No. I would have to pay it. You guys get this? So this is the news from the center. Yeah, and this is regarding the how much is the money. It basically costs 4,860 crores and it covers 72 lakh employees. Yep. So all this is part of that scheme. Remember 20,000 crores, 20,000, yeah, 20,000 lakh crores if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that scheme, this money is all involved. Then let's go to the next news from the center. This is regarding agriculture infrastructure fund. Now, even during the lockdown, one thing which had not stopped was agriculture. Because you remember, isn't it? In the very first news when I told you about Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, the grains like rice and other, what do you say, dal and other thing was given away free of cost to the people, 5 kgs and then 3 kgs. You get that? And Prime Minister of our country applauded the taxpayers and the farmers. So farmers are basically doing all this. You get this? Now, once the produce is out, you need to sell it very immediately. You can still say, okay, ours was a very basic, what is a majorly agricultural based country, and our first 2 5-year plans were agriculture. In spite of this, we can still say that even today, our agricultural infrastructure is not to its the best, not to the best, and it is not up to international standards. So to take it up to international standards, to provide for cold storage facilities or post-production storage facilities and everything, government is infusing money into agriculture infrastructure. Yeah, how much of money is it? Let's read this. Come on. So the Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister, today given approval for new Pan-India Central Sector Scheme Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. The scheme provide medium long-term debt financing facility to viable projects. Like if you have a project which will ensure that after the grains or harvest has been raised, how can you save it for longer? Then the government will give loan to you with which you can build that infrastructure. That is here. See, in viable projects for post-harvest management infrastructure and community farming center. Post-harvest, after the harvest is raised, you need to build an infrastructure to save it. If you have a project, government will give you loan for the same. Yeah, under the scheme, 1 lakh crores will be provided. How much? 1 lakh crores will be provided to banks and financial institutions who should give loans to other organizations which have a viable project for post-harvest infrastructure development. You guys get that? So government is straight away not giving the loan. Government will give 1 lakh crores to banks and financial institutions. These banks and financial institutions will do the project report analysis, look at the viability of the project, and then release the funds by way of debt to all these entities. Yeah, loans will be dispersed in the next 4 years, sanction of 10,000 crores, and very important point, there is interest subvention by 3%. Now the question is, what is this interest subvention by 3%? Assume usually banks and financial institutions are giving away this loan for agricultural infrastructure development at 10%. Just for our understanding, 10%. Now the interest will be 7%. Usually it is at what rate? 10%. Now what will be the rate? 7%. What is that 3% difference? It is subvention of interest, meaning decrease in the interest. Government is saying, okay, banks, okay, boss, give it at 7%, 3% cut, discount. You get that? So that's again something that's happening. And this is the news from the center. You guys, you would have to know this. What is this? Agricultural infrastructure development, 1 lakh crores. How much is the subvention of interest? 3%. Come on, let's go to the next news from the center. This is with respect to Kushinagar Airport. Yeah, Uttar Pradesh was one of the biggest states, was the biggest state in our country till the time that Uttarakhand, Uttaranchal, and everything got split. In spite of that, Uttar Pradesh is known for its diversity and it's a very big state. You guys get that? And majorly we have what to say the airport in Lucknow there and then Kanpur there. But Kushinagar is a city which is very close to all the pilgrimage sites that is located close by, like something like Bodh Gaya or Sarnath and couple of other places which are of great significance to all these people from Buddhist community. Bodh Gaya, as far as you people can recall, that's the place where what to say Buddha got enlightenment. You get that? So that's the significance of this place. So Buddhist community people from across the world come there to what to say to get spiritually enlightened for the kind of significance that place holds. You get that? But if they're coming from different parts of the globe, no, they can't really come to that city so easily. They would have to take a flight to Lucknow or somewhere Delhi and then travel by road or by rail. That will increase the travel time. So in order to make it convenient, promote tourism, they are converting the Kushinagar airport from domestic airport to international airport. Now, what exactly is this concept of domestic airport and international airport? Domestic airport will usually have all small aircrafts which can land very easily. If you convert a domestic airport to international airport, the standards have to go high. Standards have to go high. Certain runways are only like 1.5 kilometer runway. Now, Dehradun is a very small, cute airport that I've seen. It's such a cute airport that the aircraft lands in between the mountains. It's a very beautiful view. The aircraft lands, it goes all the way till front, like for another 500 meters, takes a U-turn and then comes back to the same point. And then once it gets down there, you can see that building where you get out from. But still, the bus comes, you get down from the aircraft, get into the bus goes 500 meters side, takes you there and then brings you back to the same point. It's such a cute small airport. You get that? And it cannot have a great capacity of, it doesn't have multiple runways. And the runway is also not long. When the runway is not long, no, a bigger aircraft like an Airbus or a Boeing cannot land. You get that? Usually international flights are big, isn't it? So they can't land. So you need to extend the runway. You need to increase the, or you need to extend the runway, and then couple of setups should become increased. And then yeah, it's completely very different. Yeah, if you convert a domestic airport to international airport, the guidelines that are supposed to be followed should be in line with international guidelines. So when you make some airport an international airport, it's not only your Air India or local aircrafts that land there. All the international flights like Lufthansa or what to say, Eat Star or Blue Star or what to say, some other international aircrafts will come and land. So you have to ensure that you live up to international standards to do that. So one such measure taken by our government is they're declaring Kushinagar Airport as an international airport. So when they declare, they basically should upgrade all the facilities that is available there, and it is not immediately going to happen. It will take few months. Yeah, okay, that's with regard to this one. Yeah, Union Cabinet on June 24th approved declaration of airport Uttar Pradesh Kushinagar as international airport, stating it will be improved connectivity to Buddhist pilgrimage sites. What are the name of the Buddhist pilgrimage sites? Lumbini, Shravasti, Kapilavastu. Kapilavastu is the place where Siddhartha was born, Gautama Siddhartha, who went on to become Buddha. And nearby, a little farther, sites like Sarnath and Gaya also. Who made this statement? Union Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar. Okay. Yes. Yeah, 3 kilometer long runway. They're basically updating it. Yeah. So that's the news that we have from the center with respect to Kushinagar Airport. Remember, Kushinagar Airport, Uttar Pradesh, international airport status. Okay. Next. Okay. Recently, we had seen this news. Elon Musk, Tesla, you remember they launched their own rocket into the space. So it became first private entity to launch. Now we have NASA, we have ISRO, we have a lot of other, every country has its own space research organization. They launch rockets, they launch satellites. That's all nice. But Elon Musk owned Tesla. Basically, Elon Musk headed Tesla. It's a private entity. Meaning, like, it's a company where people like me, you, like, not exactly me and you, people in that particular country invest in it. And such a company has involved itself in space research, and it has launched a rocket, in fact, a satellite there into the sky, okay, into the space. You guys get that? So it's such a big thing. When is India going to do that? And one more thing is, Russia basically recently announced saying that by 2023, it can take tourists for space, what to say, to space visit. Like, if I want to see space, I need not be an astronomer, need not do my space research and then get training for years together in NASA to do that. So NASA, what to say, the space research organization of Russia is saying that it can take the citizen of Russia by way of tourism. It's like, I want to, now you say, no, I want to go to Kurg, I want to go to Goa, I want to go to Pondicherry, I want to go to Delhi. You say that way. So that way you can say, I want to go to space, and the Russian government will take you. Russian Space Research Organization will take you to space, let you walk in the space, and then bring you back. Such is the kind of development that's happening across the globe. Now, India has to go ahead, isn't it? How do we go ahead? A lot of private entities are basically helping in development of our PSLV and everything. You guys get that? So they've started with a scheme wherein the private companies or private organization can also start space research. They can track few planetary motions, and they can do a lot of space research. It's a restricted way, but we're opening the doors for private entities. You never know. 5 years down the lane, we also might have a private company which is doing space research. And this isn't something which entire national, what to say, the entire space research organizations which are of private nature in our country to cherish about. Yeah. So let's read this news. The Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved the creation of Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. That's the name of the entity. What is it? In space. It is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Okay. To provide a level playing field for private companies to use Indian space infrastructure. Okay, this is a part of reforms at giving boost to private sector participation in range of space activities. The InSpace will also handhold and promote, guide, and private industries in space research. There is already certain infrastructure which is ready by ISRO that will be shared with private entities which they can use and then continue the research from there. Yeah, New Space India Limited (NSIL) has been set up and would endeavor the, yeah, basically it's like basically right now our country is supply driven, meaning our ISRO can give this much of supply of resources and we are only accepting so much, but the demand is actually high. So basically we're shifting from supply driven to demand driven, meaning there is demand for so much, we'll produce so much. That is demand driven. There is supply of 100 units, you need to only eat 100 units. That is supply driven. You guys get that? So we're trying to shift from supply driven to demand driven. So that's a great step in the Indian space research field. Okay, so that's the news. And in fact, Dr. K. Shivan, ISRO chief, also welcomed this move, and he told that it would actually cause a greater impact on the Indian space research because PSLVs, when it is made, there is a greater contribution from a lot of other industries in the country. So now we'll be able to do it in a better way, and ultimately it should do good to the country. And more things have to be found out, and then nation should go forward in space research. That's the objective. Let's go to the next one. The next news that we have from the center, this is all from the same cabinet meeting, is government has approved 15,000 crore animal husbandry infrastructure development fund. Now, what exactly do you mean by animal husbandry? Now we have something called as poultry farming, wherein you raise all the chickens. Yeah, there's something called as what to say, cattle farming, wherein all the buffalo, cow, and other cattle will be raised for milk or for meat or whatever. Yeah, and similar things are there for quite a lot of other animals. Now, for what to say, sheep, goat, and all these things also, we basically raise this. Now, in this particular industry, there's a lot of infrastructure that is required. So, to develop the infrastructure in animal husbandry field, may it be cattle, may it be poultry, or anything else, 15,000 crores has been given by the government. Yeah, this will be given away to develop the infrastructure. You guys get this? And this is also again part of the 20 lakh crore stimulus package that is announced by the government. You remember Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji came and then he told that day 20 lakh crores. Yeah, Atmanirbhar Bharata, self-reliant India. We are giving away 20 लाख करोड़ रुपया का योजना, हाँ, दे दिया जाएगा. Prime Minister told that, didn't it? Don't you guys remember? मित्रों, मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, yeah, ₹20 लाख का योजना दे दिया जाएगा. He told that, doesn't he? And he told details of which will be told by my dear, what to say, the cabinet finance minister, union finance minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, in the press meet. And that was followed by Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji coming up and then telling the split of 20 lakh crores as to how is that 20 lakh crores, how much money to animal husbandry, how much for agricultural development, how much is going for EPF contribution, all that. Yeah. So this amount of money was given in here. This again coming up as a relief measure in the event of COVID. Yeah. And again subvention interest. This is not given away, means it's not like given away free. This much money will be given to banks and financial institutions who will give it as loans to MSMEs and private sectors who will basically build this infrastructure. So government will give this how many crores, how many crores, how many crores? 15,000 crores to banks and financial institutions. These banks and financial institutions under this project will give loans to people who come out with a project saying that, okay, I want to build such a big poultry which needs 2 crores. Bank will do the verification of the project and government bank will say, okay, take this crore. Under which scheme? Under this Atmanirbharta scheme. You guys get that? And it allows interest subvention of 3% to 4%, meaning 3 to 4% less interest rate will be charged. You guys get that? And the ultimate objective of this is to create employment. It is supposed to create 35 lakh jobs. How many lakh jobs? 35 lakh jobs. Now, when the government is giving away loan at such interest rate, people who are interested might take that loan and then build a infrastructure for poultry or for cattle. When I build that, I'll appoint one watchman, one clerk, one cleaner, one feeder, one veterinary doctor, all these people. So all those people will get jobs. So government expects 35 lakh new jobs to be created by spending this 15,000 crores by way of loan in animal husbandry and infrastructure development. That's the news from the center. Let us go to the next one. Center extends. Okay, OBC Commission. Okay, we have this OBC as a word. What exactly is OBC? Other backward classes. Now, we have reservation kind of a government where in a lot of places we have reservation for MP seat, we have reservation, MLA seat, we have reservation, government jobs, we have reservation, PSU job, PSU may, if public sector undertakings may, if you take up job, you have reservation. In government colleges or any engineering or medical colleges, when you apply for a seat, there is reservation. So these categories, general merit, OBC, and then OBC may category 1, category 2, category 2A, 3, 3B, and then yeah, SC, ST, another thing. So within the other backward classes category, in that group there is categories, category 1, category 2, category 3, 2A, 2B and all is there. So which caste should be given as 2 category, which caste should be category 1, which caste should be 2A, which caste should be 2B. So this is something which is critical. This has to be decided. To do this, a commission has been set up. Commission means they'll select few people who are knowledgeable and wise enough to decide on this, who have very good understanding about the entire caste system and then economic structure in our country. And then they'll be given with this work to basically look into this. And then when they've been given, they were supposed to give the report by July end. But because of the coronavirus pandemic, in the months of March, April, May, and June, they couldn't take up this work and they couldn't complete this project. So Prakash Javadekar, basically the Human Minister for Information and Broadcasting, came out with a statement saying that the time limit for this commission to come out with that determination of caste within the OBC, they're extending it till 31st of January 2021. 6 months extension is being given. And this is not the first time. Previously, 9 times the extension was given. Look at this. OBC Commission tenure extended. Modi government on Wednesday announced it had extended the tenure of OBC Commission by addressing the media. 6 months extension. And the time is given till January 31st next year. So by January 31st, 2021, this OBC Commission should give its report about classification within OBC. Okay, and this is not the first. This is the ninth extension. This is not the first time. Ninth time the extension is being given to this particular part. You guys get that? So that's the news. This is the official Twitter handle, may the statement that's been made. Okay, guys. So we have this news. Come on, let's go to the next news from the center. Next news is with respect to Banking Regulation Act. Now we know there are a lot of things that's happening in the banking sector. Yeah, this particular regulation came up after this cooperative society scams that people can recall. Yeah, so long ago there was a couple of cooperative society bank scams that had happened in the what to say east, like Kolkata, that region. But of late in the south also it is affected. If you guys can recall the most recent one, Sri Guru Raghavendra Cooperative Bank scam that happened, and then people were trying to withdraw money that was not happening. In fact, our member of parliament from Bangalore South, Shri Tejasvi Surya, went down and then handled the situation. And then couple of recommendations was given by Tejasvi Surya, our honorable member of parliament from Bangalore South, to the Minister of Finance, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji. So when all this is happening, to regulate this banking sector in a better way, especially the cooperative banks, they're bringing changes in the law. They're bringing changes in the law. We right now have Banking Regulation Act 1949. We right now have Banking Regulation Act 1949, which covers all the banking companies. Now, an ordinance is passed, which is in addition to that existing act. This is an amendment, and this is issued in 2020. This will bring in lot of governance-wise changes in all these cooperative banks. Another important point is this changes what is brought in this ordinance 2020, or to say the Banking Regulation Amendment Ordinance 2020. This will not impact any of the agricultural cooperative banks. I repeat, these are basically the changes brought in to cover cooperative banks. This will not impact any of the agricultural cooperative banks. That's one thing. And the next thing is they're basically amending section 45 and section 56 also, which basically deals with amalgamation of banking companies. We've discussed this in our regular class, yeah, or this economic affairs and then banking affairs. There's something called as mega bank merger that's happening. Vijaya Bank, Union Bank, we had a lot of banks, isn't it? Now all of them are getting merged. It all started with SBI and its subsidiaries getting merged. Yeah, you guys remember that PNB, the biggest banking merger, and all that. Yeah. So all this is happening. So with regard to this also, they wanted to bring in few changes into force in the Act, Banking Regulation Act 1949. So all that was brought in by this ordinance. So this ordinance, whenever any ordinance is to be passed, first it has to be passed in the Lok Sabha, that is the lower house. Then it has to be passed in the upper house, Rajya Sabha. Then the president of our country, right now it's Ramnath Kovindji, Sri Ramnath Kovind, has to approve it. That was approved in the month of July. That's the news here. So what is this? From the official website of PIB, yeah, pib.gov.in. President promulgates Banking Regulation Amendment Ordinance 2020. What all does it cover? First one, amendments with respect to cooperative banks. This does not cover agricultural banks. And amendment in relation to section 45 and section 56, which deals with amalgamation of what? Banking companies. See this? In pursuance to commitment to ensure deposits of bank. Okay, let's skip that first paragraph. Look at this second paragraph. The ordinance amends the Banking Regulation Act 1949 as applicable to cooperative banks. Applicable to cooperative banks. Come to this last but third line. The amendments do not apply to primarily agricultural credit societies. This is not applicable to agricultural credit societies. Only applicable to cooperative societies or cooperative societies whose primary object is long-term finance for agriculture. So if there is an cooperative bank which is set up to basically extend loans for agricultural based entities, and that too in long term, they are not covered in this amendment. This amendment is exclusively for cooperative banks that are there in the urban side. Guru Raghavendra Cooperative Bank was there in the city of Bangalore. It was not there in a village, and it didn't give loan to farmers. It gave loan to people like us. It included money from all of us. Yeah, if it is a bank which gives loans to farmers and for agriculture purpose, that is not covered in this amendment. And look at the last paragraph. The ordinance also amends section 45 of Banking Regulation Act to enable making of a scheme of reconstruction or amalgamation of banking companies. I told you, yeah, that's with regard to this. And this is the news that we have in our bulletin that was issued by ICSI for the month of July. Let us go to our bulletin. Whenever you guys want to download the bulletin, just Google search ICSI bulletin, CSET bulletin July 2020. That straight away takes you to the first link session that you get is usually ICSI website, or you can go to ICSI website, students column, CSET, and then select bulletin and the month. Yeah. So I've discussed the entire bulletin. What is basically here only with regard to current affairs. There's a lot of updates that is there with regard to other papers also you should read. So this is what we discussed. Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Yojana, capital infusion, general insurance scheme, all these things. So you covered it all. Yeah, I didn't cover it from here. I basically covered it from the bare news that was there. You guys can do that. There's a lot of other MCQs given on other topics. Please do solve it, guys. I wish you a great success in your CSET exams coming soon. And I want to see all of you in our CS executive class starting in the month of January. Yeah, we'll start with CMA paper. I basically handle your CMA paper there. So I would want to see all of you there. I don't want you to be writing CSCT again. Yeah, so prayers from my side on your behalf. to the Almighty for your success in the exam. Yeah. So there are few sample questions given in this CSEET bulletin. Let's quickly discuss that. Yeah. The first one. So the first one is, who among the following has recently attended Russia's Victory Day parade? Russia's Victory Day parade was attended by our Indian Defense Minister. Rajnath Singh is the person who attended it. Yeah, so that's the answer for the first one. How many Chinese apps were banned by the Ministry of Electronics? You guys remember this? Yeah, WeTransfer, Share It, TikTok, and all was banned. So this was 59 applications which was banned. Yeah, one among those, that 59 applications list was running all around WhatsApp, if you guys could have remembered. And all those TikTok influencers, all of a sudden they've been taken down. Like, what do they do? They used to do TikTok all the day. Now they don't know where to go, what to do. Yeah. And then yeah, with regard to COVID also, we knew, right, once when someone has got COVID and they've recovered, antibodies would have formed in their body, so you can take the plasma from their blood and then infuse it to the present patient who's suffering from COVID, and they would fight COVID more easily. So that plasma bank was set up in India. Where was the first plasma bank set up? It was set up in New Delhi. First plasma bank for the sake of COVID-19 treatment was set up where? In New Delhi. Next one. Michael Martin has been newly elected as the Prime Minister of which country? Ireland. Yeah. Then recently, Anandiben Patel assumes additional charge as caretaker of Governor of Madhya Pradesh. Okay. She's the governor of which state as of now? I think it's Rajasthan. Am I right? Fifth one, let's see. No, it's B. Yeah, Uttar Pradesh. Anandibeen Patel is the governor of Uttar Pradesh. Now she's been appointed as caretaker governor for Madhya Pradesh also. That's the news from the center. Next we have, okay, ASEAN. 36th ASEAN was hosted where? Cohesive and responsive. We've discussed this in our regular class. I had shown you that picture also. It was supposed to be held in Vietnam. Sorry, which country hosted it? Vietnam basically hosted that Asian summit. Then the space agency from which country as is set to take its first tourists for spacewalk in 2023. I mentioned this in today's class only when we were talking about space research. It's Russia who's saying that by 2023 we can take tourists to space mission. What is a spacewalk? Yeah. Next, the government of India virtually launched India's first yoga university, Vivekananda Yoga University. Vayu. Where is it launched? It is launched in Los Angeles. Yeah. The next one, who has been appointed as the chairman of National Institute of Public Finance and Policy for 4 years with effect from June 22, 2020. He is an former governor of RBI. Guess the name. Let's see. I don't know if you've guessed it right. Yeah, congratulations to those who got it right. It's option C, Urjit Patel. Former governor of RBI is being appointed as the chairman of National Institute of Public Finance. Done. Then the last one. Which Indian has been elected as member of ITF World Tennis Tour Men's Panel representing Asia Oceanic Zone? It is Nikki Kalyananda Punacha. Yeah. So this person is basically South Indian. If I'm not wrong, he's basically from Karnataka, Kurg. If looking at the last name, it sounds so. Yeah. So he's been picked as a member for ITF World Tennis Tours Men's Panel representing Asia Oceanic Zone. So this is the discussion of the MCQs also that is given to us in the bulletin for the month of July 2020. I'll come up with another video wherein we'll discuss the bulletin for the month of August and then September as well. Yeah. So till then, don't stop your studies. Please do continue. Remember, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara Swa Adhyayanam Ma Pramadha. You need to talk the truth, and then whatever you touch with your hands should be justice. And self study is something that should never ever stop. And that's the motto of our dear ICSI also. The motto of ICSI is Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara. And I'm extending it saying that my part of message to all of you is Swadhyayanam Ma Pramadha. Don't ever stop your self study. See you all guys in the next video with respect to bulletin for the month of August. Till then, stay in the game. Bye bye.